Next item is public forum, time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those that are on the agenda. No action will be taken. State your name for the record and probably no more than 5 minutes. We have a distinguished guest, Mr. Robert Brownell of Polk County Supervisor fame, is on the call and would like to make some comments. Robert?
Thanks, Mayor, members of the council. It's been a while since I've been here, or even on a virtual basis, I guess. So good to see everybody again, and wanted to kind of get you up to date with what's going on in the county. And what I try to do with the councils I represent is most people want to know what's going on with COVID and how's the county doing with COVID and how do we look and what's new and those kinds of things, more than what you already know, perhaps. The state numbers are not good at all, as you probably already know. They're routinely hitting, 12, 13, 1,400 cases per day. Cases aren't a great way to measure things, but it's one way you can do it. And our case numbers are up. It is indicative of hospitalizations to a certain extent, more cases, more hospitalizations, but it's not a one-to-one ratio or anything like that. But cases are definitely up. Hospitalizations are definitely up too, and that's probably a better measure. And it's something we look at every week. I have 2 COVID calls per week that I get on, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an epidemiologist, just a guy doing some math. And but I do listen to what the numbers are and what they mean. The county has hired its own epidemiologist, Megan Schneider, and she's done a great job for us. But getting back to hospitalizations for a second, that's a number that you can measure that really isn't disputable. I mean, it's either month over month, week over week, more or less, and you can't say, well, it's not a serious case or not a serious case or asymptomatic or symptomatic. It's hospitalization, so it's serious. Our highest number of hospitalizations in the state up till now has been 417. That was back in late April, and now we've exceeded that record by a lot, unfortunately. Yesterday was, check my notes here, 480, and that was actually an improvement from 482. So not great. What's interesting about this, though, is that Polk County and Dallas County, really, the Des Moines Metro, are not contributing to this very much. It's really a fascinating thing because the counties that are contributing to this are in the northwest part of the state, the northeast part of the state, for the most part. One thing we measure here in Polk County, well, anywhere in the state really, is the 14-day rolling average of positivity rate. It means how many, if you take 100 tests, what percent are testing positive out of that? The state right now is routinely running 15, 16% testing positive, which is really high. It used to be, for many months, was running 9, 10% tops. So 90% were testing negative, right? So that's been going on for a while. Now we're running into double digits positivity. And Polk County did too for a while. We were up to as high as 10.2 for a while there, and we considered a mask mandate for about a couple of days. But our overall positivity rating for 14-day rolling average was running on the average about 9% at that time. So it wasn't really to the extent that Johnson County was at 20+% or Story County was at 20+%. We were at 9, so that was a little different story. Right now we're at 7.1, which is actually an increase. We were at 6.5 2 weeks ago, 6.7, sorry, last week, and now 7.1. So we're inching up a bit, but not bad. And so we're not really contributing to this. We've had a couple of bad days here recently and a couple of good ones. Last couple of days have been very good. Let me take a look at my notes here, see if I can find Polk County. Last couple of days have been 59 cases and 85 cases, which when we're in double digits, that's not a bad thing. So we're coming back around. Why that is, I don't know. It's anecdotally, it seems like more people wearing masks when you see them around at Hy-Vee and places like that, and different stores and restaurants. It seems like that's what's going on here in Metro Des Moines. I can't prove it, but it seems to be what's going on. And so our numbers have been pretty good. The overall averages for the region, and that's the only thing I can measure, is the region right now. Although one of my COVID calls I mentioned that I'm on every week, it has to do with the metro hospitals. The CEOs from Mercy and Unity Point are generally on there. And so they have the Metro Hospital numbers, but I can measure regions because regions are part of the IDPH website. And our region is running less than half of our highs back in June, late May. And so the region here, which is basically Polk County drives those numbers, as you can imagine. We have Dallas County in that region, Polk County, Story County, Jasper County, and then a bunch of counties going south all the way to the Missouri line. But obviously Polk County is the largest. One thing the media likes to focus on is the number of cases in Polk County. We have 17,500 cases, something like that. Last, I think today was, and maybe 700, 17.7. But at any rate, they kind of focus on that because it's a lot of the cases in the state. We also have 500,000 people living here. So our overall average per 100,000 is fairly low. In fact, we're not even running the top 20 counties for average per 100,000. So I think for whatever reason, things are going pretty well here in Polk County. We want to keep that up. And so if you're wearing a mask around and going out in public and with a mask and socially distancing, keep doing it because it seems to be working. So that's what we have for that. I did want to mention one thing though, it's kind of encouraging. And I'll get this to Mr. Durham, as I owe AJ Johnson one of these. This is a FAQ for healthcare providers for questions having to do with the dispersal of the vaccine, which we think is within the next quarter or so. So what does that look like? Is it 2 shots or 1? How long in between the shots? Who gets it first? Who gets it second? How long is this going to take? Those kind of questions. I'll get a copy to Mr. Durham and he can get it to the council. It's very encouraging, obviously, to be talking about that because we've been working on this for a while. And the last couple of months, the Emergency Operations Center has been working on that, which has been one of the outlying things that come again. There's been some good things come out of COVID, and one of them has been the EOC participation by Chad has been tremendous, by the way. I want to give him all the compliments I can. He's been great with the EOC, and we started something called the RMCC, which is the Regional Medical Coordinating Council. The hospitals are working collaboratively more than they ever have before, which is just a tremendous thing. And you might have noticed that there was a new visitors policy in place last week. That was for all the hospitals. They all did this together at the same time. It's the first time this ever happened. They seem like a small thing, but it's kind of a big thing. But that's really done well for us, I think, in the long run. The other thing I wanted to cover with you today, if I can find my notes, is I have 2 more things. I won't take up a lot of your time. I know you've got a big agenda here having to do with the survey that came in. I read through that. It was interesting. The eviction mitigation program we put in place has been working very well. We put $800,000 worth of CARES money into an eviction mitigation program. We talked about that between all 5 supervisors, Republicans and Democrats, came to a conclusion of how we wanted to do this. We wanted to have Polk County Housing Trust Fund administer this. That would be better than the county administering this, we felt. So they're doing a good job. Right now, we've dispensed about $300,000 of our 800 that we had committed to this. We've helped over 300 people. About a third of those are kids, and there's about 170, 180 households altogether. It's a win-win program. You know, a lot of times these eviction mitigation programs are nothing more than a government-sponsored rent strike, and that's not what this is. This has some qualifications. You have to be 80% of median income to qualify, and your difficulties have had to have something to do with COVID. So it isn't just anybody can walk through the door. I'll get back to that in a minute. But the people that have had those kind of situations, you've been laid off from your job, this hits the service industry very hard. Hotels, restaurants, and the hospitality industry, very difficult time for them. And hits the refugee population very, very, very hard too. So these are the folks we're trying to help, and we have helped. And so it's a win-win situation in my view, because we're helping the families not become homeless, because when they become homeless, it's hard to not become homeless again. A lot of the management companies are wanting 3 months advance rent for their apartments and duplexes. So once you become evicted from your current place of your home, it's going to be very difficult to get back into a full-time place again. So we don't want that to happen to them. The other thing that happens is that with a lot of these mitigation deals is the landlord doesn't get paid at all. In this case, they do. And so the landlord gets whole, the tenant gets whole, and obviously the the ultimate solution to this is they go back to work and start being able to pay their own rent. And that's our goal here, obviously, is that. But for now, we're doing well. We've got money left in this system, so it'll last for a while. There's another moratorium that'll come to an end after January. We think we're going to be able to maintain what we're doing right now for a while yet, and we think the moratorium will be extended anyway. But we'll see. IFA has been very good to work with on this. So anyway, that's something that we did that I think is really working well, and may have had some implications in Windsor Heights too, with the rental properties in Windsor Heights even. Hope so. But so far so good. The other thing, last thing I want to talk about is budget. Everybody's gonna be talking about budget here in the next couple of months. Our budget is no different than yours. We've got some challenges, but we went into this very strong, a very strong financial position, AAA rated. We had very strong reserves, still do. We've been a recipient of some, some PPP money and some things like that, some CARES money, but not tons. We do have some challenges ahead. We have a hotel. Hilton Hotel is not doing well, like all hotels. Part of the bond payments are centered on what's basically a sales tax TIF in the downtown Des Moines area. If sales taxes are coming in, which they're not, then that makes those bonds hard to pay. Then we have to cover the bonds. We have reserves for that. We're prepared for that. We're prepared for coronavirus, obviously, but we're prepared for that happening. So we have reserves for that, which we'll probably have to use. The other piece of the puzzle that is going to be difficult for us is we have a profit sharing agreement with Global Spectrum on the arena. So we're not going to lose any money on the arena, but on the convention center side, we have a cost sharing agreement with them. So we're going to lose money there because conventions and conferences just aren't coming into town. So there's going to be some subsidies that have to come about to keep them afloat. Nothing we can't handle, but those are the kind of the challenges we're dealing with right now, and some others too, but not anything we can't handle. So we think we're in pretty good shape. One thing, people think is, well, you have all this Prairie Meadows money. Why don't you just use that? Actually, if you use Prairie Meadows money or casino money for your operations, this is the same across the country, you lose your AAA rating, and that would not be worthwhile. So the Prairie Meadows money can come in and be used for community betterment and grants and things like that, and go back into the community some way, shape, or form. But we don't use it for operations, and we're not going to start using it for operating. We don't need to in the first place. But even if we did, we wouldn't want to do that and jeopardize our AAA rating. I think that's about all I have, Mayor. I don't know that if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to field them. But it's great to see everybody, and I hope things are going well in Windsor Heights. They seem to be, other than University Avenue being torn up for several months at a time. But that'll end at some point in time, I think, and it'll be a much needed improvement. So I'll take any questions, Mayor.
Also, anybody have any questions for Mr. Donnell?
Hey, Bob, this is Teresa. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. We also have an impending legislative session post an upcoming election. Has the county started putting your agenda together, and is that something that you'll be back in before January to share with us?
Yeah, I will. Our basic agenda, excuse me, for the next legislative session will probably focus on mental health. We have a structural deficit between what we get out of property taxes, which is a very archaic way to do mental health. We get $15 million a year for mental health. Our costs are actually about 25 to 26 million. So structurally, we're in a $10 million deficit every year. The state has been able to fill that gap since they froze the property taxes back in 1996. I may have said this before to the council, but in 1996, when they froze us at $15 million, since then, we've had a city the size of Cedar Rapids move into Polk County, and it's still $15 million. So we're serving we have 16% of the population. We serve 23% of all the mental health cases in the state. So people come here for mental health services, and we think there's a role for the state. Probably a better role would be a more sustainable model than what we have now, obviously. But that's going to be, anyway, Teresa, to answer your question, that's going to be a lot of the focus of our upcoming session. Because if we have to, fund another 10 or 12, $13 million, right now we're not even allowed to do that under code. But if we were allowed, that would be a pretty good hit for us. I'd have to do that. So that'll be the focus probably. But there's, obviously, as you well know, there's other things that we'll be dealing with too. But I'll be good in the meantime, hopefully.
Am I on?
Yeah.
My question is, do you have any data with you regarding the ages of the people that are contracting the virus, the age ranges?
I have some, Mike. I've got, the IDPH has those numbers. When you click on Polk County, you can get your Polk County numbers. 51% of the positive cases right now are in the younger age group. Only 11% are the 65 to 80 range. So it's interesting that well, maybe not so interesting, but it's kind of what you'd expect because the 30 to 24 to, I think 24 to 40 is their age group that they've got is 51% of those folks are the ones contracting the virus. So it's the younger age group, which tends to put them in the hospital for shorter periods of time and sometimes not at all. In fact, most times not at all, but those are the ones catching it right now.
Are there bars and grills handling it well?
Some are, some aren't. One thing we pay attention to is other counties. And Johnson County and Story County were two counties we were watching very carefully. Like I said, they were at 24, 23% positivity for a while. Now they're running 5. So how do they do that? I mean, they had a mask mandate in place when they were 24%. So it's not all about masks, how they do it. I think when they shut the bars down, that's what did it for them. Now they're running 5, 6%, which is tremendous. I mean, it's not just a tremendous improvement, it's a tremendous period. So they've seemed to have gotten in control of things because when you're under 5%, it's not spreading. And Johnson County's been at 5% for a while, been under 5% a couple of days. So I think that's a lot of it, Mike, is the whole bar scene and restaurants not so much. I think restaurants are doing a pretty good job of, having the staff with masks and coming in and leaving with masks and all that. But bars are a little different story, as you can imagine.
That's really good for Johnson County.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Surprised.
Yeah, I was surprised. And, Story County's had a similar improvement. So good for them. Hats off.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other comments or questions from council? Okay, Robert, thank you very much for coming and updating us.
Thanks for putting up with me. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Travis, you see anybody on?
Do not know.
Hearing none, then we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of non-union public safety employee job descriptions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of truck number 6 transmission repair. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Dalton, that's a 2014 vehicle, is that correct?
Right. Yep.
Okay. And then you said I think the average life expectancy for that type of vehicle would come due again in 2004 or 2014. No, wait a minute. It'd be 2024.
Yes. Yep.
Well, with it having so few miles on it, now building the transmission, wouldn't it go longer than that with the limited miles it has on it?
Yeah, that's my hope. I think that, so I talked to the dealer, and 7 to 10 years is a pretty conservative estimate for ours, but they wouldn't be surprised with proper maintenance and stuff. 15 years isn't out of the question. but 10 years is our goal.
Thank you.
Dalton, just a quick question too. What is the value of the vehicle?
As it currently sits, it's $57,000.
Okay. And that is without the repair.
Right.
Okay. I just didn't know like what was the, some cars are $10,000 cars, other cars are $60,000 cars. I just curious. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of pay request number 6, 2020 street improvements project with 69th and Allison.
Approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
is Justin on board? Dalton, is Justin around?
He was on here, Mike, and he just looked like he disappeared. I don't know if he tried to unmute himself. And
I think Dalton's on again. Dalton, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So you folks have inspected the job that we're paying for, and you're very confident in that it's been done well and according to the contract?
I personally have not inspected that, but yes, Bolton and Mink has inspected the inspectable items. Yep.
Okay.
Any further
I
discussion?
just want to make sure it was definitely inspected and met the contract parameters.
Yes. Yep. Now I know that some of the residents there's not always something to inspect on a site. So for example, like during removals, there's really no reason for the engineer to stand out there and watch them remove concrete. So they check, there's certain things that have to be checked. So the things that have been inspected or the things that needed to be inspected have been inspected, and they're all sufficient and in compliance with the contract documents and specifications.
So Dalton, we make sure that the depth of the concrete is what it should be and so forth?
Yes. Yep. That's all checked when they get in there and string line and trim, and then I believe they do cores as well. So it's the depth and thickness is sufficient.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything further? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is consideration of pay request number 6, College Drive improvements. Motion,
so moved.
Second.
discussion? Roll call.
Susan Skiris,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes,
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Next item is council and committee updates. Teresa? Reese?
Wow, you're throwing me for a loop, Dave. 2 weeks.
I know, it's twice.
I know. Wow. Only took us 3 years to get here. Okay,
Here.
so it's fine. I'm just teasing. So real quick, public safety has a meeting tomorrow at 5:30. And so we will be working on our emergency action plan, our local emergency action plan. So excited to dig into that with the committee, and we'll have AJ from Polk County Emergency Management to come in and speak to our group as well. We have Metro Waste Authority on Wednesday evening as well. So I'll have a lot of updates, our next meeting. And then just a real quick thank you to Dalton for taking care of inquiries that residents have had on Allison and College this last week, and getting back to folks with the information that's needed. And then Dennis and Whitney as well for their work on some of the other requests. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
Mike Jones?
Communications committee meeting today discussing texting options, texting notifications. I think we came away from the meeting. We're going to ask for public input on what they feel would be useful as potential services as far as getting information from our website and getting text alerts.
Good idea.
Mr. LaFredo?
Yes, sir. Again, I just like to urge everybody and wish our citizens would do as well, is read the reports, the staff reports, particularly public safety, public works, and the communications information. It's very impressive. And, you know, sometimes people are wondering, well, what do the police do all the day? You know, what do they do? And same way with public works. So it's very impressive, and I would again urge everyone to get that word out to citizens because I think we should have a lot of confidence in our department heads. That's it, Dave.
Joseph?
We continue to have conversations on the levy rate and formula for DART. Nothing conclusive yet, but I think we're getting there. And like I told you before, our rate won't change substantially. It will go down, but not sure what that final rate will be yet until we have all parties kind of agree to the new formula. So stay tuned for that.
Joseph, weren't we at the maximum rate anyway?
Well, we're at the maximum rate for our levy, but the amount that we pay into the overall system the percentage will go down.
Okay,
So that will mean a reduction for our taxpayers.
good.
Yeah.
Susan?
Last Friday, we had movie in the park, Hocus Pocus. I sent out a thank you to everybody here, but would like to thank Dalton and Austin with Public Works, Chief McCluskey for helping take down, also Joseph Jones for everything that we kind of got thrown into. We had probably the biggest crowd that we've ever had. I bet you we had between 200 and 250 people. We were busy doing everything. So counting heads was not one of the things that we accomplished or remembered to do. But we ran out of, we went through 30 boxes of pizza, if that tells you how busy we were. And I think we still could have fed some more people if we had ordered more pizza. So also big thank you to the sponsors that worked to help support the movies. And also the drinks and pizza, everything. And then also Lauren Campbell and Edie with the chamber who helped plan with Joseph and I for all the movies in the park. So I think we've decided that this will be that Hocus Pocus was our last movie, just because of kind of what's going on, and that white snow that we have outside probably isn't going to get people to come out to a movie. So I think next year we will bring this back and hopefully be able to have a full crowd of people again.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to echo what Mike said about the staff reports. They're very informative, and they include a whole ton of information about city activities. There are a couple of other things I think that would be of interest to the council and yourself, Mr. Mayor. The Central Iowa Water Trails Committee met last week and started working diligently on putting together a governance document. I took the time to sit down with the Clive and Urbandale city managers to discuss ongoing partnerships with Windsor Heights, and they also took the opportunity to fill me in on all the history of the area, which was very good to understand. I participated in the chamber meet and greet last week. That was really nice, and I thank the chamber for inviting me to do that. And then also you can tell that you're right in the middle of your fall season when you have to start talking about renewing your city employee medical benefits. And so we've started talking with our advisor about that in preparation for the budget and for renewals coming January 1st. Thank you.
Anything else for the benefit of all? Okay, I could use a motion to adjourn to the work session.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Carries,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Mike LaFredo,
Yes.
Mike Jones,
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
yes.
Council meeting adjourned. Anybody need 5 minutes before we start again?
I don't, it's only been a half hour of council meeting time.
Okay.